And we are live. Hey, welcome everyone. It is June 26, 2020. I'm your host, JerryVHall, and this is Market Conversations. Tonight, as always, I'm joined by my producer extraordinaire, Mr. Brady, and we have a special guest, Mr. Rob Licker, lined up. Now, this conversation tonight is really about you, the audience, so it's very audience-driven. If you have questions, put them in the comment field. If you are brave and want to come in studio and ask your question, make sure you let us know in the comment section, and we will either email you a link so that you can come in and get on camera. This is all about community engagement. But I want to set this stage for the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about VeChain. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about the innovation in the space, right? There's all this innovation. Well, how much of that is going to equal adoption? How much of that adoption will drive investor sentiment, right? How much of this flywheel effect is actually going to start happening? Many of us have been in the space for a long time, are waiting for exactly these answers. So I want to welcome you to the show and play this clip from today's Real Vision daily briefing. So let me go to the controls. And as I go to the controls and speak to you, I will be, there it is right there.
With today's stories. Thanks, Ash. Yesterday, the U.S. broke a record for the most number of coronavirus cases in a day at 41,113. This is the first time that daily cases have broken through the 40,000 threshold. Total cases in the U.S. exceeded 2.4 million, according to Johns Hopkins University. This surge of cases seems to be particularly affecting those who are 40 and younger. In Arizona, one of the states with the largest spikes, 48% of cases are among those in the 20 to 44 age group. In Florida, the median age of residents who are testing positive for the virus has dropped from 65 in March to just 42. And in Texas, 53% of people infected are 20 to 49 years old. In other news, the Federal Reserve is going to be keeping the banks on a tighter leash from now on. The Fed announced yesterday it's prohibiting the largest banks from buying back their own shares until the end of the third quarter and ordered that their dividends be capped to Q2 levels. This was in a sensitivity analysis that was in addition to the regular annual stress test. The projections from the stress test were actually quite good. Lost loan rates seem stable, pre-provision net revenues don't look out of line, and even the common equity tier 1, that vital statistics, only dips down a little bit to 9.9%. It was these findings that supported the vice
Well, that was a technological faux pas. I'm getting all kinds of stuff here saying there is no sound. I don't know why that is, and it doesn't matter because we're going to move right along. Basically, the premise of this daily briefing today was I wanted to set the stage and let you know it's not looking good. It's not looking good. This whole story that we've been fed that the economy is going to recover, it's not looking that way. And that's important because what we're invested in the digital asset space plays a role in the world. Now, is this good or bad for digital assets? Maybe it's good for some and not so good for others. We'll explore those topics and a whole lot more. I want to thank everyone that's coming into the stream and those that have come from the Crypto and Coffee Nick Black stream. Thanks for coming in. What an incredible job Nick's doing, bringing macroeconomics and financial capital market investment strategies to us in the digital asset space. It's absolutely phenomenal. So let me bring you our incredible special guest tonight. This is Mr. Rob Licker.
Hey
Rob, can you hear me okay?
Hey guys. Yeah, everything's good, bud. Screen looks good. I see the video looks good. The sound is good, man.
Right on. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. One of the incredible things that, one of the things that I found extremely incredible about you since we started interacting on Twitter, in a sense migrated to phone numbers and chatting about various things throughout the course of our days, is that you're not just somebody who found digital assets, put some money in a project, and then went off to do your thing. You like really dive into the things that you've invested your money in. And I found you personally to be a wealth of knowledge around topics like XRP, VeChain, and several others that we discussed. So in the framework or context of the recovery that we've been told by the media is going to be a V-shaped recovery, I'd like to get your take on what you see as somebody who lives and works in New York. What do you think the economy is going to be like in the next 3-6 months?
I can tell you from a narrow focus as a railroad professional with 20 years on the railroad. I work for the largest commuter railroad in the United States. We're hearing about a V-shaped recovery and everything's great. I can tell you honestly, Jerry, nobody's taking the trains. Nobody's going to work. I'm not sure if New York is recovering anytime soon. A certain percentage of these people, they're never coming back. Once corporations figure out they can have people telecommute and not have to have very high priced real estate in Manhattan, office space, I don't know, all bets are off. And, our ridership, we're federally subsidized. I don't honestly know. So we're not making money to begin with. And now, add in, I don't see, it's not looking good to me, but what do I know? I'm just a dummy that worked for a railroad.
You're no dummy, sir. Wade, thank you so very much for the super sticker. And I just want to take a second to let any of you know that your financial support of the show is incredible. And for my subscribers, you know that I'm pooling this money. The money that the channel generates is going to go off to make and create financial literacy tools, whether they be informational videos, what have you. None of it's going into my pocket for personal gain. Also, I'm going to donate to an incredible website that provides us all with so much data called XRP Arcade. And I have pledged 1% of every dollar that this channel generates to go to XRP Arcade to help further their ability to get us this information and be like a library and archive of that. But I wanted to say, and to let you know, although your super stickers are so very much appreciated, YouTube takes literally half of everything that you send. If you want to support the show, I have a JerryVHall $ at BitHump right in the description of this video, and you can send XRP directly with no middleman taking a fee in between. So
Jerry, is that pay ID? Is that a pay ID?
Oh, as a matter of fact, it is a pay ID.
Interesting. Nice.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we should talk about that. This week has actually been incredible for, let's say, innovation, right? These three pillars of what drive markets. You've got investor sentiment, innovation, and adoption. To see the news that's come out this week about some of the innovation is just darn right remarkable. I'd love to get your take on that.
I think XRP, hits on 2.75, 2.8, pretty much three of those. I struggle to see why the price doesn't appreciate. We have adoption. We had adoption with the use of ODL and MoneyGram. Constant announcement after announcement, new innovations through the Xspring development wing. So everything is there. I don't know what other shoe has to drop. We were told that we don't need regulation for ODL to work, and they found a workaround with Western Union, MoneyGram, not Western Union. So I'm a little confused about that. I definitely think that all of the information in the news, the price hasn't caught up to the price. Clearly, it hasn't. So I don't know what lights the fire.
Well, I can tell you, I think that's been true in XRP's case for the 2 years that I've been here, the little over 2 years.
Right.
None of the news has really driven the price of XRP. And you know what? I'm kind of I've just surrendered to that, and I'm okay with it, because I continue to see actual tangible innovation occurring. Now, obviously, investor sentiment hasn't caught on, and adoption hasn't been where we'd like it to be. But with the news of this week, with Payer ID, with global ID,
right,
with what they call unstoppable domains, which is an Ethereum-based layer that allows you to own your own domain. Like, for instance, I went and got a domain. I'm JerryVHall @crypto. That's my domain name forever, for a one-time fee of $40. Now, will that catch on and become something? I don't know. Will I meet somebody that is a really cool web developer and can help build a really cool website that my video content can be on, the financial literacy content can be on, and people can interact with it with no fear of a overlord like the Twitter gods saying we're stopping your account, or the YouTube gods canceling your account. It's a completely decentralized domain environment with no authoritarian superpower flicking the levers of control on whether you can be live or not be live. I think that's pretty friggin' cool.
I looked briefly into the Pay ID, and what I initially had seen, I'm not running my own server or anything. There wasn't a consumer-facing application yet that I saw. It's all coming. I'm a big fan of BitTrue. So BitTrue is in the process of rolling out Pay ID names. They're going to send us our Pay ID names. I don't know what the ETA on that is, but I'm assuming it's within 30 days.
Yeah, there's a few very interesting things going on with Pay ID. I'm looking forward to the JerryVHall $@sum.com, which is the mobile banking app by Win and the folks over at XRP Labs. Really looking forward to that. CKJ Cellmate. That is just a funny name. I'm sorry. Welcome, Cellmate. God, it's so nice to see so many of the folks that were over there in the Crypto and Coffee stream. Really interesting stuff going on with Coinbase. They're adding more tokens that you can get for free by just watching a few videos and answering a few questions. And it's always nice to get free crypto, even if you're not necessarily into that particular project.
New York kind of stinks. I mean, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel with New York based on recent things I've read in the media, but you can earn probably $200 something in Coinbase if it's available. So it's definitely a nice little thing. I got to figure something with my lighting in here. I'm exiled to my kid's bedroom. Everyone's watching TV.
Oh, you're broadcasting from your child's room?
My two kids' room. Yeah, that's better.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, oh, wow. It must be nice to be doing this from an iPad. The flexibility to kind of be your own director. You can give us a top view. You can give us a profile just by holding it.
I've gone completely mobile, Jerry. I don't even know what a laptop or a desktop is like anymore. Between iPhone and iPad, I'm totally mobile. I don't even know how to use with the gesture-based iOS and everything. It's very hard for me to migrate back to a desktop at this point.
You know, what an interesting segue in context. Why is that? Let me ask you, why is that? Because it's easier for you to do the things that you want to do?
Convenience. And then, to be honest with you, like my son, I recently bought them for school an iMac, and using a computer operating system, it's just the gesture-based tablet and phone. It's so smooth and it's so easy to use and just efficient. And I've been mostly mobile for years now, so it's something I've grown into.
So I find this really interesting because I draw so many parallels to things from the past and what we've got going on with digital assets today. For instance, cell phones, although not widespread, were available in 1990. Right? A lot of them were kind of large, had very big batteries, and they were pretty expensive. And you could have one in your car or even a mobile one that you carried around. And as a few years went by, they got smaller and they got cheaper as technology advanced and the deflation of cost of production and innovation went down. It started to spread. However, you know, the iPhone didn't come out until 2007, 2008?
Right in that around
that
time frame, yeah.
Now, so in 1990 we had cell phones, and in 2007 we had cell phones, and although the number of phones increased, means the cellular networks around the world increased. Mm-hmm. There was still a large part of the population that had landlines. And it wasn't until Apple put out this incredibly intuitive, user-friendly iPhone that the cell phone market as a whole absolutely exploded.
Right.
And a whole new wave of innovation as it pertains to how data could go wirelessly emerged and grew.
Yeah, I mean, I've been iPhone honestly since the beginning. I started with AT&T. They were the first carrier to get it. They had exclusive. I got it, and I had a brief flirtation with Android, and I know people love it. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about the platform, but it just wasn't for me. I could not stand Android.
So the secret sauce, right? If I was to draw like some correlation, the secret sauce for crypto adoption is intuitive, easy to use and understand user interface.
Yep.
Would you consider that a fair statement?
I mean, my parents are in their 80s. I think, you know, maybe that's not the best example, but generally speaking, I think until people like that or slightly younger, can easily buy milk, store their crypto safely without worrying about losing private keys, we're not going to have a mass adoption moment. It has to be. Internet in the beginning was incredibly difficult. Sending emails and all these things. If I had CompuServe and you had CompuServe, we could email. But if you had AOL, I couldn't. And then they came up with all these different protocols and put layers on top of it to make it easy and more usable. So I don't think they're there yet with crypto. It's still, the tech is a little bit unapproachable.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do your folks who are in their 80s, do they use a computer for email now today?
They do.
Do they need help doing it, or are they able to fully function those kind of things on their own?
I mean, email came out in the early 90s, so cognitively, they were still with it enough when the advent of this stuff came that they assimilated these technologies, but the newer tablet and gesture-based stuff, they're like, well, they can't, like, my mom has a very hard time with an iPad.
Oh, okay. So then I'm trying to understand, because you said you don't think a mass adoption thing will happen until your parents are able to do it.
they're a bad example because they're in the 80s. But
Yeah, I don't think that's a good example.
It's not. No, it's not. But I
Okay.
would say people like 60s, 70s who are alive today, are still keeping up on trends, fairly technologically in the loop. Yeah, I have friends. I mean, my peer group around 48 to 50. I try telling their face looks like a glazed donut when I talk about Bitcoin. And then if I try to explain to them about QR codes and stuff, it's like I'm talking about science fiction.
Interesting.
The pay ID in these things, when you make it like an email address, bingo, that's a home run. People don't understand the impact of that.
Well, although I honestly support the Pay ID project 100%, and I love the idea of me being able to assign, for instance, to my Sum app, which is going to be basically my crypto to the legacy fiat world interface.
Right.
Being able to, with the QR codes and Pay IDs, be able to buy and sell things, whether it be pay a guy to mow my lawn or buy a new toaster on Amazon, right? That interface with that world of commerce and the digital world, being able to do it with something as easy as like the JerryVHall $sum.com,
right,
is huge for receiving, and then being able to pay you. Let's say it was you, I was paying for you, the lawn job that you're going to do, the mowing of my yard, Rob Liquor $ $sum.com, or maybe it's bittrue.com, whatever.
Right.
That kind of easy user interface to me is the kind of innovation that is necessary for the adoption, because we need adoption. We need people using and doing things with this technology, not just buying it, holding it on an exchange or in a cold wallet and waiting for the price.
The other really vexing problem with this scenario, I see this two prongs. I mean, we have the technological hurdles that we have to iron out and make it easier for everyone to use, and add layers on top of this. But no matter how simplistic it gets and how easy it gets, until the issue with taxation catches up, until the law catches up to the technology, we're still going to have a problem. For all the promises back to where we could buy coffee in Starbucks, if I buy Bitcoin, the spot price in the morning is 10,500, and in the afternoon it's 11,500, and I go to buy a cup of coffee, that's a big tax event. I can't spend my Bitcoin because the law hasn't caught up to the technology. We have to do something about that. The laws have to be changed to enable us to spend our crypto. It has to be, for my 2 cents, it should be considered almost like foreign currency. And it's not, small purchases and small gains aren't taxable.
Well, that was one of the promises of the Token Taxonomy Act that was introduced and then later shit-canned. Hopefully it'll be reintroduced again, where it was something, I believe it was $600 a day.
Yeah, they were going to have a de minimis.
Would be considered non-capital gain taxable events.
Right, and not subject to any kind of taxation.
Right. And
then this other, the absurd notion of trying to track and monitor and keep of all of your trades is absurd. From going in and out, if I want to go to Tron to Cardano to 80 to XLM, they have to come back. 1031 has to come back. We need like asset exchange.
I could not agree more.
Tax is the fiat cash out. If you want to cash out the fiat, or if you want to spend your ordinary, your interest, have it considered ordinary income. But we need them to do something from a legal framework.
I could not agree more, and I think Dobbs Ferryman is saying exactly the same thing with his questions. You're right, Dobbs. That is the truth of today. And hopefully, like we're seeing with this innovation, with the pay IDs, with the global IDs, with the domain name stuff, that we'll also see laws put in front of Congress that get passed that allow us the flexibility to be able to utilize some of these technologies for simple things like paying for goods and services, or being paid for goods and services, and not having them be these IRS nightmares, right?
It's insane. It's insane for the accountant. It's insane for IRS, the consumer. Nothing about it makes sense.
Well, one of the things I know I'm just one voice, but I have a representative in Congress, and I've sent emails, I've sent tweets. I will continue to send emails every time I see a bill that references this crypto space in a way that I believe is beneficial for us. I write an email to my congressman saying, "Hey, Mike," it's Mike Thompson in California, the district that I'm from in my actual California residence is at. And I say, "Hey, Mike, this bill, blah, 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 I'm very much in favor, and I hope that you'll support it as it goes through its course in Congress. It benefits, and I'll list 3 or 4 things and how it's, can help his constituents, and hope that enough of us do these kind of things so that the people that are actually on Capitol Hill, who are actually going to be casting a vote, will know that there are people who are supporting them to go this direction."
Yeah, I was all happy that Warren Davidson, Congressman Warren Davidson from Ohio, and Karen Soto from Florida liked my tweet. I tagged them in it, so I was, not that big of a deal, but I was pretty excited about it.
Well, it got read.
Right.
Either by him directly or by his assistant who's actually managing the Twitter page.
I'm curious, what are your feelings? You think, I have a feeling it won't occur. Will we hear in the fall, if they have them, assuming everything is okay, are you anticipating cryptocurrency coming up during the debates at all? The presidential debates, will it be discussed? Probably not.
I don't think so. Now, there is one element that I think could really drive that, and that is if the legislation passes for a digital transmission of value to the population for further unemployment benefits, the small business loan administration loans to small businesses, and then the individual citizen stimulus funds. If that happens, and
my little guy, say hi. He wants to be a YouTuber one day.
Well, tell him start learning how to say XRP. We'll get him on.
Fortnite. He's all about Fortnite and Roblox. But hey, Forte Gaming. There you go.
There you go, right there. So yeah, I think so. To answer your question specifically, if there is a digital transmission of value to the citizens and it's successful, then I do believe it'll be part of a political stumping program, because Trump is going to need to waive every victory possible. You know what I mean?
I am really, I don't know what to make out of it. Between Schwartz, Garlinghouse, and Lawson, they are taking an extremely aggressive posture lately. Very aggressive. What is up with that?
Oh man, here's the question that comes up for me when I hear this. Well, the U.S. government's kind of given a wave of approval to Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are protocols that are basically controlled through their mining operations in countries like China.
Right.
You're giving China the advantage. Why do they do that? Is it really necessary that XRP get a wave of approval from the SEC? It's already got an approval from FinCEN, which is a regulatory body of the U.S. Treasury. It's already been stated by the CFT. CFTC.
Kind of in the clear. And I believe in the UK it's been declared by whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure who or what, but I know in the UK it's been cleared as not a security.
Right. And I think Japan has similar.
Same thing in Japan.
Regulations for digital assets also. So, I think there's definitely going to be a need for more, for clarity on this. Obviously, Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse think so. I
I'm
think
changing venues on you, so
no,
everyone's
that's
going
okay.
back. So
Well,
I'm
you
relocating
move
the dining room.
There's already been absolute. You cannot deny the fact that there has been business being done with XRP out of the United States. So it's not
Right.
illegal to have ODL taking US dollars and sending it somewhere else because
Right.
they wouldn't do it. So what else? What is the other? Maybe this has something to do with one of the other barriers that have not been able to identify yet. You know, and how much of this is also barriers for the projects that we love, like Cardano and VeChain. Why are they not? Or I know why Cardano isn't, because it's the real net isn't even put out yet. But VeChain is a live net with live developer apps, with live partnerships. Why isn't it growing larger in the States as opposed to places like in Asia?
Interesting about VeChain, the three factors that you were talking about before: investor sentiment, adoption, and I forgot what the third factor, innovation. VeChain, I think, similar to XRP, is hitting on those, but the price is, in the last few months, actually reacted quite a bit more positively and had some upward trajectory. I think we might see movement in the U.S. But it's Binance USA has it listed already, and I'm anticipating significant regulatory relief, I guess, in New York. I mean, New York they're saying they're going to come. I don't understand how it's going to work. They'll have like bit licenses and let other entities, whatever, work off those bit licenses. So,
you mean like you could be a company, you could be Rob Liquor International, and you could bring in a company underneath you, and your bit license would cover
some of the stuff I read. Yeah, like Coinbase could like rent out there, but I don't know. It's kind of strange to me. There's going to be some relaxation of it, but I definitely saw some language about that where they were going to have business like Coinbase Gemini who would be able to like oversee or give the nod.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely articles on it.
Well, there are, and I'll tell you one of the things, and I was excited to bring you on because we've been into the show now for 30 minutes. I want to kind of dive deeper into this VeChain conversation.
Sure.
For the audience to know, to give you some context, I bought VeChain a long time ago without very much knowledge about it, just knowing the sector that it was going after. It was going after supply chains. And I knew that there was going to be a need for that. I knew that we were going to need programmable smart contracts. I knew we were going to need payments, and I knew we were going to need supply chain management going forward. So my three picks were XRP, Cardano, and VeChain because I thought those were the best in class. So as I've dived deeper and deeper and deeper into actually understanding VeChain, Rob was somebody that I reached out to because I was finding it difficult to find the actual tokenomics, the value of holding the token, really, not the value of the blockchain, not the value of the partnerships, but what would make the actual token valuable. So I reached out to Rob. I said, hey, I'm having a hard time finding this. It's not in their white paper. It's not on their website. And within 5 minutes, Rob sent me back this incredible article, which I'm going to show for you on screen while we talk. Rob, why don't you tell me what value proposition you saw from reading that article and understanding VeChain? Why is it valuable to you to hold the VeChain token?
Well, I think one thing that's unique about it's not totally unique. There are other tokens that do this, but one of the things that attracted me to it is to participate or be involved in the network and use it, their blockchain as a solution, like a packaged software deal. You need the gas token, which is VeThor, and by virtue of owning a holding, that every token you own generates VeThor, which interestingly enough can fluctuate, which makes it even more interesting to me. So as the network becomes more popular, the VeChain Foundation and voters can vote to adjust the amount of VeThor, VTHO, needed per transaction. And if the network really blows up and that is not sufficiently addressing, then they can actually get into the tokenomics of it and address how much VTHO the VET produced. So it's a rather unique mechanism that I haven't seen really anywhere else. I'm not saying that it isn't somewhere else in crypto, but it caught my eye.
Well, I'm no expert in VeChain yet, but it has been a project that I've really been trying to understand the elements of the game. So to me, when I look at any project, I'm looking at management team. I'm looking at the partnerships that they have signed. I'm looking at who capitalized them. In other words, who funded them, who got them off the ground.
Right.
What is their addressable market that they're actually going after, which a lot of us in crypto would say, what's the use case that they're addressing?
Right.
You know, what problem are they solving? And then lastly, how can I, as an investor, how can I gain from owning that token? Is the token necessary in the mechanism of the actual protocol? And I got very early, I understood the VTHOR concept. So the only way to get the VTHO, which is the gas that makes, you can't build an app without it. You can't execute blockchain functionality without it. I went, okay, it's like a car, right? You have a DApp on the blockchain. It's like a car. It absolutely has to have this gas to go. Okay, great.
Right.
That assigns value to that. But what other value propositions did the actual VET token have? That's where I got lost. And that's where you sending me this article just opened my eyes.
There's quite a bit of other stuff to it. Yeah, there's quite a bit of other stuff to it.
There's a lot to this article, but the magic sauce for me as a VET holder was that the VET token itself is absolutely necessary to execute any smart contract. So here's the scenario. You're an oil company in the East, right? And you have a contract, a sales agreement to sell that oil to a Latin American country. Okay, great. It's locked up in a VeChain smart contract. Now, when the contract gets executed, every dollar that's in that contract has to be paid in VET. It can be later currency swapped, VET for whatever, Bitcoin, US dollars, you know, Costa Rican colones, XRP, it doesn't matter. But that functionality that you cannot execute a financial smart contract without the VET token, that was the magic sauce that went, okay, now I see where the supply and demand metric for token economics will come in for this coin. And knowing that, the more people know that, the hoarding effect will happen. When people understand that an asset is absolutely necessary to perform a function, people will hoard it, just like they did with toilet paper when COVID was announced. People fighting over toilet paper. Why? Because you got to wipe your butt. You don't have a choice. You have to wipe your butt. It's a every single one of us is going to do it, rich and poor, right?
Absolutely.
So what else is in this article that you found that really made you go, okay, this is another feather in the VeChain cap? I
found, you know, it's not a huge thing yet, but it's developing, and there are a few nice dApps that are gaining some traction, you know, similar to like Ethereum. There is a developing dApp ecospace, and the same thing. There's a mechanism in place where if you want to develop a dApp and run it, you have to have half the value of the dApp tied up in VET.
Oh, in VET, not VTHOR?
No, VET.
Ooh.
So if dApps really take off, again, the hoarding effect, like you said. There's one called Hacking AI, which is very interesting. It has a token on the VeChain blockchain. It's HAI, and there's another one, 8 Hours Foundation. A couple of the YouTubers have interviewed the CEO. They have a very interesting gaming table. You use blockchain in a board game, like with an iPad, and this thing is actually in GameStop. It's available in GameStop already. So it's a real product, and it won an award at the New York Toy Fair at the Javits Center. Very interesting stuff.
Wow, you're telling me that there's a game that is actually utilizing the VeChain blockchain.
Correct.
What are the token economics involved? Does it need to run on VThor just like
it runs on it? It's a 8 hours token, which is on the VeChain blockchain. I'm not an expert on this, but what's interesting about this is you can take game pieces and stuff and make non-fungible tokens out of game pieces, and you could sell them. There's a whole marketplace with this. So you could actually take like this magic marker, and you could put like a chip on it. I've seen videos. It's on YouTube, and you could make this a non-fungible token. It'll have value. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Wow, maybe I found a home for JerryCoin. I don't know. That's an ongoing show. That's an ongoing gag from a crypto and coffee thing that we did not too long ago. So for those of you that are like looking into VeChain, don't just blindly go buy some VeChain. Do some homework. Do your own research. There's a very interesting thread, believe it or not, in the comment section of one of my videos on my channel. It's the Hollywood producer interview. There's a thread from a young man. He brings up some very good points. He's adamant that this project is not legitimate. Now, does that mean just because somebody says it isn't legitimate that it's garbage? No, it doesn't mean it at all. But if you don't take into consideration that your biases could be misaligned, you are subject to catastrophe. So if there's
agree.
a flag, investigate it. It doesn't mean that it's true, and it doesn't mean that it'll lead you to evidence that it's crap, but you should always take into account that there is a possibility something's not right in Mudsville, and you should always investigate if you don't have the answer. Wouldn't you say that's good advice, Rob?
I can't knock it. I can only tell you I did my own due diligence, and what I found when I delved into the background of the CEO of the foundation, Sonny Liu, the man is extremely impressive, very, very impressive. The two big partnerships that they have that really stood out, they are in partnership with DNVGL, who is maybe the largest assurance firm in the world, and they have real product on the market. They're doing real things. One of the things that they're really doing right now, where it could gain tons of traction, they're coming up with putting people's COVID records on the blockchain and testing. And it's being in Europe, in Cyprus, and it's being used in hospitals. Don't take my word for it. I'm just like I said, I'm a guy who works for the railroad.
Records, do you mean medical records?
Yes.
Wow.
DNVGL, they're doing it. They have a My Story is the product. It uses blockchain as a service. It uses the VeChain blockchain system and it's supply chain management, all this stuff. And one of the things they're doing is actual like health data. And there's a hospital in Cyprus that's using it. It's gaining a lot of traction through Bayer Pharmaceuticals too, monitoring COVID.
I got a great article about that Bayer Pharmaceuticals interaction with VeChain, and it's indirectly, but it kind of is directly because if Bayer is working with My Story and My Story is built on the VeChain blockchain, that's kind of direct.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, exciting stuff. Well, tell me more.
I found it to be super exciting. The biggest thing, and I myself too, I'm far from an expert. There are a couple of guys on Twitter who I shouted out. I retweeted your video and I shouted them out that were nice enough to help me along. And it jumped out at me as like, this might be an opportunity to get into something that I missed out on with XRP, where it was fractions of a penny. And I was lucky enough to get into VeChain. I was aware of it, like yourself. It was quite a bit. It was quite high. I wasn't really in my wheelhouse, but then I said, "Oh my God!" I looked one day. This thing is its all-time low, and I had some available money, so I bought a position. And since then, it's really taken off. So it just looked like an opportunity, something very solid to possibly get in on, in a way that I never got in with XRP. right? I missed out on the days where it was fractions of a penny. So I took the plunge, and I'm pretty happy. The other thing which we really haven't touched on was the whole idea of running the nodes, which is simple as can be, and you can get some extra passive income out of it. But
let's talk about that, because I'm all as an investor, I'm all about passive income. So
Sure.
Please, the floor is yours.
Well, VeThor generates at a predetermined. It's like 0.000042, whatever it is, VeThor per VET. That doesn't change, but there's a bigger available pool. So if you hold, I'm actually partial to the VTHO, the official VeThor wallet, the mobile app. I think it's a great. I've had no issues with it. I understand it's a hot wallet. Some people might be turned off by it and they want to do a ledger. To each their own. I'm satisfied with the product. I think it's safe, secure. If you hold 1 million VET, which is the minimum, you can automatically get a node, and it works kind of like a bond. So you hold the VET for a certain amount of days, and then it matures. And then as you accumulate more VeChain, if you want to node up and go up a level, same thing. And the maturity levels increase. Or you can go into the marketplace and buy a non-fungible token. The other type of node they have is an X node, which was a program about 2 years ago. X node gives you a higher generation of VTHO production. It gives you whitelisting for IEOs, ICOs if you want to participate, and it gives you some enhanced voting rights. So I think if you're really a long-term believer in it, and you really, they're also scarce. There's only 4,000 X nodes in existence, and 1 or 2 of them every other day or two is getting burnt. People, I think speculators, as the prices jumped, they're selling their VET without being able to sell a node, and they're eating it. So a decent amount of these tokens are getting destroyed as the price of VET appreciates. Myself, I think it's a good long-term investment. I'm kind of sold on the project.
Let me walk back, because there's something I'm very unclear about what you just said. Mm-hmm. I understand the tokenomics of the nodes.
Right.
You described that very clearly. Tell me about the actual physicality of the nodes. Where does this node reside?
It's not a node per se, like a Ripple validator or anything. It's a non-fungible token. It's a status more than anything else. It confers upon you. So when you possess it and you hold it in your wallet, you get a higher level. VeChain works on something that's interesting. It's not proof of consensus. It's not proof of stake. It's proof of authority.
Right.
So there's 101 authority nodes. This is really where the governance happens. They're the ones who are validating all the transactions. There's only 101 of these. One of the ones companies holding it, DNVGL, is openly holding an authority node and running it. And when the VTHO gets burned, 70% of it is burned that's produced, and 30% recirculates and is given as a reward to the authority nodes.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to answer a question here real quick.
Mm-hmm.
RM, any thoughts on XLM? Here's the thing. Solid technology. So investor sentiment. Really nothing innovative. They're not doing anything really. And the adoption is, what are they doing? Who are they doing it for? So it's good tech. Does it have a place? Absolutely. Does it got a place in my top 10? No, it doesn't. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I just don't see reasons to put my money into it. Rob, do you have any thoughts on Stellar before we move on?
I tried to buy it 100 years ago, and in the beginning of the bull market, and it was very difficult to buy. It was like sub 1 penny, and I didn't have patience for it. And it went to $1.50. So I clearly missed that boat too. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not, a big Jed McCaleb guy, and so it wouldn't be in my top 10 either. I don't see what it does that XRP doesn't do, and maybe it's more retail facing than XRP.
If XRP is really successful, nobody gets 100% market share of anything. There's always going to be somebody that comes in and gets chunks of it. And XLM is a technology that's positioned to do something exactly like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? McDonald's is the largest fast food franchise on the planet. Does that mean there isn't room for Burger King? Burger King seems to be doing okay. They're not McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I got an interesting tidbit about XRP.
Well, get on with
I don't remember the source, but I don't know if you remember. A year or two ago, there was a movement. It was actually not a MoveOn.org. There was a petition going to get XRP to be the official currency of the Tokyo Olympics. I don't know if you remember that.
You know, I read something about that this morning, and it was in an interview this week with Yoshitaka Kitao, who's holding the same vision that when that happens, that everything, you will buy everything with XRP.
For the World's Fair.
Soda. Oh, it's the World's Fair that's coming up?
Now it's the World's Fair. It's the World's Fair that's coming out, and it's being rekindled. And they're talking about using it for everything. I don't know how much traction there is with this.
So instead of going when the tourists get off their planes or boats,
right,
and they go for currency exchange, they're not going to get Japanese yen. They're going to get XRP on their debit cards, a card that's issued to them, or if they already have a wallets. They'll just use XRP, QR code, everything. Now that's pretty ambitious. But you don't make waves without having ambitious goals. Will they achieve that goal? I don't know, Rob. I mean,
if it's going to happen anyway, Jerry, I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to happen in Japan because of Kitao-san. And the reality is XRP is by far the number 2 cryptocurrency in Japan. It's ahead of Ethereum in Japan. It's very popular in Japan.
Well, it's popular in the East, that's for sure. Korea likes it. Japan likes it. It seems to be the place where the greatest amount of adoption is happening for Ripple, the company. And it seems to be where the investor sentiment on a retail side is definitely stronger per capita than any other place in the world. You know, Bitcoin kind of has their numero uno. You know, they have that top dog status, and depending upon where you go, Ethereum will be number 2, Bitcoin could be number 2. So, Bill Gould, great question. What about Holochain? I loved it. I took a position in Holochain last year. I'm since out of Holochain because there just isn't enough. The innovation was wonderful. Investor sentiment, not so great. Adoption, horrible. Getting those boxes out to people so that they can have a decentralized internet, great idea. The adoption isn't happening. I had to exit my position.
I had some too. Same thing. I left it. You know, I've kind of had an epiphany with crypto, and I've come to this realization. VeChain is kind of at the bottom of what I would consider buying, to be honest with you. I honestly don't think, I think assets too much outside of the top 25 or 30 are so speculative. Very, very speculative. The stuff in the top 30 is extremely speculative. But you know, I got badly burned on an altcoin scam in 2017, so I am more leery. And so, you know, I'm more, if I'm going, it's going to be like the top coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and I'm going to go a little bit out. Maybe it'll be Cardano and like VeChain. But that's I'm not getting too far out of that wheelhouse at this point.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I had been like extremely excited about was the introduction of capital market investors, which we know that number about 550 million around the planet, having access to these crypto markets, right? Crypto markets, about 35 million people right now.
Right.
If you could open these markets up to that other 550 million investors, and even if they took just a conservative 1% of their portfolios and allocated it to this new asset class, we would have a several $1 trillion overall market cap for crypto, right?
I'm sure it happens. It's when, but it's going to happen.
When, right? Well, you need innovative technologies or interfaces for that to happen. And so one of the things I did last week is I reached out to ErisX because they were being backed by Fidelity. They were being backed by TD Ameritrade, as far as, oh, hey, Connie. And hi, XRP Carolina. And all the people that I haven't been able to acknowledge since we started. So I was thinking, okay, hey, I remember ErisX had this push. They had great funding behind them by some big players in the capital market space. I reached out. I said, hey, guys, what in the heck is going on with you? Well, they responded, and I'll share that with you right now. So they responded back to me, and it was, I hope, I'm looking for my Twitter. No, that ain't it.
If there was gonna be one ETF that was gonna pass, I thought ErisX had a really good chance of it. I thought that was the one that was gonna pass.
Oh, ErisX didn't have an ETF. It was
they didn't have a Bitcoin ETF.
No, ErisX is nothing more than a trading platform. So it's like BitTrue or Coinbase or anybody else.
I'm confusing with something else then, but it's something similar to it.
I envisioned ErisX being something that had a, hey, Daniel, hola, mi amigo, pura vida. ErisX would be something that worked behind Fidelity Investments and behind TD Ameritrade. So I log into TD Ameritrade and I go, I want to buy 100 XRP. I want to buy 0.01 Bitcoin, whatever. And boom, I would be able to do it. Well, that hasn't been the way it's worked. ErisX is live. I've opened my account. I was shocked to see that they only have 5 assets available. They're only available with USD or BTC trading pairs, and they are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and that other Bitcoin Cash Satoshi Vision thing. That's it.
God.
In other words, 5 proof of work protocols. That's it. And that's the introduction to the capital market structure investor, the guy that's got, $6 million sitting with Fidelity. And so I said, hey, guys, this has got to be accessible somewhere else. And they said, yes, we do have what we call live intermediaries. I said, what's a live intermediary? That sounds juicy. I want to know about that. Well, Fidelity Digital Assets and a thing called Trading Post are live intermediaries with ErisX. But guess what? It's just those 5 proof of work assets. So although that 550 million capital market investor that we have to have access to this marketplace, they've only got access to 5 friggin' assets, and they're all proof of work.
Wow.
Scary, huh?
3 of those are, complete duds. SV, it runs on one weather server or something. It's a complete scam. Litecoin, I don't like to insult people, but to me, when Charlie Lee, when he sold the top and threw his bag holders under the bus, dead project. And what is it really? It's a Bitcoin testnet. That's it. It has no use. If you're going to, you might as well just use Bitcoin.
Some people are using it in commerce. And same with Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, there are people that are using it in commerce, and I wish those projects well. I personally,
I'm okay with Bitcoin Cash. I have no issues with Bitcoin Cash. If you want to use it to, for commerce, whatever, it's a little. I think Roger Vere's heart's in the right place. I've warmed up to him.
I think Roger Ver is great for the space. I really do.
I used to not think so, but I've kind of warmed up to him. I realize he's
totally
all about.
warmed up to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Guys
like
on Vase, not so much.
He's a great ambassador for crypto.
Exactly. That's what I think too.
Mm-hmm.
Your browser, I'm getting a message. Your browser has blocked your screen. Can you see me, Rob?
I see you fine, Jar.
Okay, I see you. Okay. Hopefully we're broadcasting and everything's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not savvy with all this. And okay. I think the general public will have to learn exactly as well. And speaking of which, I'm looking at the clock. It is time to bring our producer extraordinaire into the studio. Brady, are you ready? We're going to do a round of what we call final thoughts. And welcome, Brady.
And you literally caught me in the middle of my final thought. So let me go last. Hold on.
You always are going to go last. So, Rob, you go final thoughts. I'll go final thoughts, and we'll close it out with Brady's final thought.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Had great time. XRP, as solid as I've ever been with it. Love it. Check VeChain out. And I mean, really check it out. They have some amazing stuff going on from the CEO, Sonny Liu, and all of the partnerships and the projects that they have going on. Really very, very, very interesting coin. I think you'll like it. So definitely worth checking it out.
Right on, Rob. It is so great to count you as a friend and actually get to have you on this conversation tonight. For me, my final thought is, if you're an investor, understanding investor sentiment of the project that you're interested in, what actual innovations are they actually creating, and what kind of adoption is taking place within the scope or sector that they are addressing with their addressable market. These are all important things to understand and evaluate before you start putting your dollars in. It's very important to do your own research. Don't listen to some old fat bald guy from Costa Rica. Brady?
And he's ready. So it's a deep final thought because it took me about 3 minutes to figure out how to put it into words.
Do I need special music to kind of get you warmed up for it, or can you just go off the cuff?
Seriously. All right. So I see the way we were describing everything, and as I'm obviously going through the chat, looking at what everyone is saying about certain assets for whatever reason, it's going to be interesting to watch the general public do exactly as we did 3 or 4 years ago about the coins that we first saw 3 or 4 years ago. The only relevant coins 3 or 4 years ago, because it was after the only one we knew. So it was like, oh, the next thing in line to learn. The general public's going to have to do that, and we're going to have to sit here and wait and watch. So I see there being 2 markets. One will be theirs, in which it's like the ErisX and the Moorheads and the Raoul Powells and fill everyone else's name in there. That's going to be the general public. We're going to be a smaller, I don't know how to describe it, but a private public maybe, that kind of know the history and know why they're not mentioning certain things and why they're choosing to start with what's familiar to most people and not, hey, this is what we learned in 3 years. This is everything that can do, but faster and cheaper. It's like, why are you going to go backwards? But I guess they have to get their coins too. So we may just have to wait, or it could pop off and it could happen.
Yeah, well, we may be the minority. Let's not be the silent minority. Same when you're looking for tokens. When you're looking for tokens, look for mentors the same way. You're finding people on YouTube to listen to. Look into them. Who are they? What are their motivations for doing what they do? How are they communicating to you? You know what I mean?
Yep.
You have to analyze these things. Do your research. Don't put your faith blindly into any one person or any one project without looking at both the pros and the cons. On behalf of Brady and our special guest, Mr. Rob Licker, broadcasting from New York, I'm Jerry from Costa Rica saying, till next week, Pura Vida.
See you later, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good weekend.
All right, take care, man.